One of the things that popped into my head as we were talking about the different ways that people utilize the Forbes is the number of images that we get in our annual photo contest that were taken in the Forbes.
Yeah, it is a beautiful area. It really is. I might be a little biased. I know other parts of the state are beautiful too, but there are so many beautiful picturesque areas down here. So
vistas, treescapes, rock outcroppings,
waterfalls,
mushrooms.
Really,
we get the whole gamut, so it is a very picturesque landscape. Imagine a place where stress fades, fresh air fills your lungs, and adventure awaits around every corner. Welcome to Think Outside, the podcast that inspires you to explore, connect, and embrace the outdoors. Welcome to Think Outside with the Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation. I'm your host, Marci Mowery. Today, we are joined by Ed Callahan, who is the district forester at the Forbes State Forest. Welcome, Ed.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here. I almost said welcome.
Well, welcome. Excited to talk about the Forbes State Forest. And for listeners who are unfamiliar with where the forest district is, could you give us a little bit of a geographic location?
Yeah, sure. The district itself is the 6 counties in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania, but the Forbes State Forest is found in 3 of those. That would be Westmoreland, Fayette, and Somerset. And just a little bit more information there. Our state forest it's found in an area known as the Laurel Highlands, but it occurs kind of on the Chestnut Ridge, Laurel Hill, and down at Mount Davis, which are the prominent ridge features in this area.
And how many acres is the district? Well, the actual forest holdings, I should say.
Yeah, the Forbes State Forest itself, we're right around 64,000 acres now. Believe it or not, when I started, it was closer to 58,000. And so that many acquisitions have happened in the last so many years.
Lovely. And, I'm going to leap right in. You mentioned Mount Davis, which is the Pennsylvania High Point. Can you talk a little bit about that particular area of your forest?
Yeah, Mount Davis is, like you said, it is the high point of the state, and it's really a beautiful area. It's super remote. I've been here since 99, and sometimes I still get turned around driving down there. It's I don't know what it is about the landscape, but it's a beautiful area to visit. It's surrounded by a lot of farms, especially Amish farms down there. At the high point itself, we've done a lot of work in recent years. We're right in the midst of a signage project where our original signage has been there since the 70s. And some of the wording was archaic. And then from graffiti and some things like that, it was just time to redo the signage. So we are almost complete, but not quite. I'm really excited about it. It's probably 95% actually installed right now. But so if you're thinking of visiting the high point, give it just a little bit of time because there are a few signs still to go up. And we also made other improvements in the last couple of years. We paved the road in from the state route, and we paved the parking lot. And we actually put a new trail in, new kiosks. So it's a super nice place to visit.
And at Mount Davis, you have one of the few fire towers that are open to the public.
Yes, it was built. There was actually a fire tower up the road. We call it an observation platform. It was built in, I think, 33, as near as we can tell, is when it was built on the fire tower platform. It just doesn't have like the top of a fire tower. So when you walk up to the top of the observation platform, you can see in all directions. It's really pretty cool. And I'll just mention this. We did something with this signage. We had a couple of signs at the base of the tower. So for folks who maybe are in a wheelchair or don't want to climb, a lot of people are afraid of heights, they can see what you would see at the top of the tower now on these signs and an explanation of what you're looking at. So we were pretty excited to put those in.
I love that. And if people have listened to some of the other podcasts, because I know there is the tower in the William Penn Forest District that's not open to the public, but I had an opportunity once to go up in it, and I did not take it. Give me a cliff face, but fire towers make me just a little bit
It has
nervous.
really narrow steps, but I forgot to mention that we did just do work on the tower. So it's been repainted, do angle brackets. So it has steel steps, and also if that makes you feel a little safer, but it is really narrow. You probably feel like you're in a ship, corridor when you're going up there.
Yeah. But it is the high point, and if you can claim it if you're a high pointer and gathering the high point in every state, and you can get ours here in Pennsylvania.
Lots of folks, we deal with the High Pointer Club. They have a bench up there. They're always asking how they can help us out. But in that parking lot, you will always see cars from different states. So people don't spend a lot of time at the High Point because it isn't like it's a big hike up there. But now with all these interpretive panels, it's really a super place to stop and learn about the Bureau, learn about the surrounding area, and just a beautiful view.
Yeah, I'm looking forward because it's probably been a good 15 years since I've been there, 10 years. So I'll wait a month or so for all of the panels to be in place.
Maybe we'll race to the top of the observation tower.
Okay, all right. All right, I will build my confidence. What are some of the other tracts of land that you hold?
So our tracks, and I was going to mention this. I'll just tell you a little bit about how we fit into the landscape too.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. So the area, Fayette County, Somerset County, Westmoreland County, and really Cambria is what we're calling the Laurel Highlands, and it's one of the conservation landscapes of DCNR. But the Forbes is kind of unique in that we have those 64,000 acres are found along the ridge tops, the Chestnut Ridge, Laurel Hill, and down Mount Davis, but they're in the tracks are kind of scattered. But what we do is we help tie in public partners. Like we're near a lot of the state parks. We border a lot of the state parks and also the state game lands. And then we help tie in a lot of the private partners around here. So if you're familiar with this area, Hidden Valley Ski Resort and Seven Springs Ski Resort, and we're in proximity to like Nemacolin Woodlands, but we just help tie in all those ownerships. And I think we're the largest landowner in the Laurel Highlands. So that's a unique thing about the Forbes. But you'll find probably the heaviest recreation in what we call the Laurel Mountain division. That's just south of Route 30, stretching down Laurel Hill. Just below the turnpike, we have the Roaring Run Natural Area. Mount Davis division is found in southern Somerset. And then over near the 125th State Park, which is Laurel Caverns, we have, it's around 27,000 acres along that ridge, including Quebec Run wild area. So that's kind of how we're spread out.
Well, could you define for the listeners what a wild area is?
Yes, a wild area. So we have different designations. You have Forbes State Forest, one of the most restrictive areas that we have. So in a natural area, it's open to foot traffic. It's only so you won't find like mountain bikes or people in equestrian riding, and you won't find camping. A wild area is in between a natural area and a, I'll say, normal state forest. So, but it is set aside. So we will not do any timber harvesting in that area. In the case of Quebec Run wild area, it's almost 7,000 acres, and we have close to 20 miles of interconnecting trails. It's probably our most popular area for backpacking too, because when you're in there, it's really the peace and the quiet and solitude, and it's that you have kind of an expectation of being somewhat alone in there. Now, you're never alone in Quebec Run because there's a lot of folks who use it, but you can get out and get away from people. So pretty much that's where a wild area fits into our management.
Okay, thank you. And I can attest that you have some very lovely landscapes in the Forbes State Forest.
We do that.
And you also have a lot of history that you've, even Forbes itself, that maybe let's start with the name of the forest district, the Forbes.
Yes. So this was named after General Forbes. In the French and Indian War, his expedition, he led an expedition against, it was Fort Pitt at the time, or it was Fort Duquesne, I believe, at the time. But he built a road right through this area, which if you're from here, it's like, how'd you build a road up and over Laurel Hill, up and over Chestnut Ridge? But that did happen. So this was named after General Forbes. But so there's a lot of that type of history found here. But this is this was when the settlers moved west, this area was really developed. So Roaring Run Natural Area, you go in there, there's old, if you know what to look for, it was all farms at one point. Now it's all grown up forest. And if you stop and look, though, you'll find old foundations. You'll find old pieces of metal still there. It's really rich in history. And then something PPFF has been involved with is the Carroll Cabin in Fayette County. So that structure was built in the late 1700s. It's one of the oldest structures in Pennsylvania, actually. And DCNR has taken an interest in rehabilitating it, and PPFF has been a major partner in that effort too. So something else, and I'll just mention PPFF again because you guys have really helped me through the years. So you have Wharton Iron Furnace down in Fayette County. I was going to kind of save this to the end, but I'm very thankful to PPFF throughout my career here. You have been a big help to me. You helped bring grant funding. That furnace was in danger of falling apart, and you sought out grant money for me. In addition to fixing the furnace, we put in interpreter panels, which now people go there and really learn a lesson about that industry at the time. So we have some CCC camps. Once again, you helped me with the Blue Hole CCC camp. So we were able to reestablish some of the features that the CCC had built along the waterway at that time, and then put some interpreter panels in down at that camp. So, but yeah, we have a lot of history in this area, and a lot more to be found, honestly. It's interpreting it, and just we've done our best here in the Forbes. We don't have an historian, but I had actually a semi-skilled laborer at the time, and he had a history degree, and then an AA at the time, and they both retired right before COVID, and they volunteered so many hours here in our district, gathering historic information, putting it into binders, sorting through it, and so we've reestablished a lot of that, but there's still so much history to dig up and catalog.
Yeah, and it's sometimes when I think about history, like I grew up in the town of Columbia, which is on the Susquehanna River, and like at one point that was the edge of the wilderness. Everything beyond west was just wild, and then that edge just kept moving across Pennsylvania. So when you go to the Forbes, you think about that was the wild, wild west. That was the deep, dark woods. And some of that with 64,000 acres of forest, you have some of that woods back again. But, it's interesting to use history eyes when you're traveling the landscape of Pennsylvania and realize how European settlement kind of moved west.
Absolutely. And a lot of that is still found around here. And there's the various degrees of history. You look at old pictures of Mount Davis, and it was a moonscape. But that's even within the last 100 years, and now all that has grown up, and it's a forest. But then you could keep going back further and further and further, and there's till the Native Americans here. They're still finding all kind of digs, and you can still find arrowheads anywhere around here. Really, the history is amazing around here.
Yeah. Pre-European settlement, European settlement. It's constant change. You mentioned the various tracts of land. You mentioned a little bit about hiking and equestrian and mountain biking. But what sorts of things can people do if they visit the Forbes State Forest?
Yeah, and I mentioned how our land's along the ridge tops. So what that affords is like all the storms that come from the west, which is generally where our storms come from. In the winter, they dump their loads of snow here. That's why you have Hidden Valley Ski Resort, Seven Springs, and that type of thing. So we have 4-season recreation. So in the summer, you'll find a lot of people hiking here. I'll just preface this with we have about 100 different trails and gated roads that are just about 350 miles in length. So
wow, that's a
lot of recreation. So hiking, a lot of mountain biking here in various places on the Forbes. Backpacking is a big thing. A lot of areas for horse riding. They like to ride our gated trails basically. Then hunting and fishing. But in the winter, we come alive then also. So we groom about 120 miles of snowmobile trail. We have many areas. We have 2 areas that are groomed for cross-country skiing, one by volunteers from the Pennsylvania Cross Country Ski Association. They actually groom and set track. And then the Nordic Ski Patrol grooms another area. But then we have natural trails also. So a lot of cross country skiing. We have 2 warming huts that people use in the winter. Snowshoeing, dog sledding is actually big in the Forbes State Forest. Yeah, it is. Sometimes it causes conflict because they like to go on the trails that the groomer has packed. Which does cross country skiers do not like anything to be to mess up their set tracks. So we've had a lot of conflicts that way. But anyways, we've done a lot to try to alleviate that in the past. But also I mentioned snowshoeing, snowmobiling, cross country skiing. Yeah, so a lot of different activities year round here.
And I imagine you also have hunting, fishing.
Exactly. We have a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, and around these areas, this is where a lot of bear are found. Sometimes I think there's more bear than there are deer anywhere in the Forbes anyways. And then our fishing, we work with Trout Unlimited a lot on different projects, but we have some areas that you would find, say, on the Fish and Boat Commission website as being stocked or delayed harvest or whatever they are. But most of our streams are fished by fishermen who want to find native brook trout. So, and there's quite a few of those out there. So,
and now, am I remembering correctly that you've done some stream remediation because you did have some streams that were adversely impacted by abandoned mine drainage?
Yeah, not so much that, and I know that was on your radar too. But we have actually last week and this week we're doing stream remediation on Lynn Run and Indian Creek. And the local West Penn Conservancy has a watershed specialist helping us, and the Fish and Boat Commission's involved. But they're in areas where we don't get normal storms anymore. We get downpours, and so if you have an area where the stream's hitting a bank at too steep an angle, we have 2 areas that were just washed out. One in Indian Creek, we are in danger of losing part of Blair Brothers Trail. So actually this week, a mud sill is being installed. And then last week, the same thing happened in 2019 on Lynn Run stream. And we installed a mud sill there. So in Fish Run, which is an old railroad bed from the late 1800s, is a trail that is right next to the stream in that area. So doing that helped reestablish the trail and save the stream pretty much. So that's kind of and that we worked with Trout Unlimited on. They were partners. They actually got us grant funding for that. So I'm very thankful to them. And because that had been on my list of things to get accomplished since 2019 when it happened, but I just could not get the funding. So Trout Unlimited stepped in, brought all kind of partners together, like the local conservation district. They did the permit for me. Fish and Boat designed it. West Penn Conservancy, Greg Schetzel there, he has the knowledge of actually doing that type of work. So it was a win-win for me and for people interested in the stream.
And I think that comes out with a lot of the conversations is how important partnerships and volunteerism are to helping and working along with your staff to manage not just the volume of acreage, but, as you're saying, the crazy storms that we've been having, the user impacts to manage all of those so that you have access to this myriad of recreational opportunities.
Yeah, and this is once again a shout out to you, but also our conservation volunteer program. So I've been in this district. I came in '99 as an assistant district forester, but I took over as district forester in '02. And at that point, I really got an eye opener. There's all these groups that still use the Forbes, like many mountain bike groups. You have various snowmobile clubs. You have the Nordic Ski Patrols. You have like Pittsburgh Meetup, and many other groups. So they would all call me, and I'd have had various people call me from each organization, wanting to know what they could do. I had a lot of individuals call me, ask me to volunteer, and I'm like, how am I going to use these people? So I started talking. I had a friend who was a Nordic Ski Patroller. His name was Mark Bittner. We sat down one day, and I'm like, I have to get control of this, Mark. So what we decided to do was call everybody into a meeting, and we had a framework that we kind of pitched to them, and we would like just a liaison from each of your organizations, so that we're not talking to multiple people. And what came out of it, long story short, is something called the Laurel Mountain Volunteer Group, And actually, I worked with you. You set up an account for me through our PPFF account, and this is probably 22 years ago now, and it's still going strong. But we do multiple organized volunteer days each year. So that was one way I could bring all those people who wanted to volunteer. We send out a notice saying, "Hey, we're having a volunteer day." We got so much work done through the years with that program. We were, especially in the early years, we brought so much grant money in, and that's where PPF came in, and you guys were awesome. So you would take in the grant money for us, and then, as we say, put a roof on the warming hut. We were able to draw funds out of those grants, or put windows on the warming hut, or whatever that the project might have been. So that's probably about 22 years ago. Then through COVID, everything took a hit volunteer wise because you just couldn't do it. So I was worried the program was going to kind of fall apart, but it started building back up. But during COVID, at the time, we were like, how can we use volunteers now? So what we did is we started advertising some of our projects, and we'd be like, if you have a group that wants to handle this, come in, we'll give you the tools, you go do the project and bring our tools back. What kind of grew out of that was we called the Trail Steward program. So it's still conservation volunteers, but it's like an adopted trail thing where people adopt one of the trails and they do an assessment, usually 2, sometimes 3 times a year, and they'll let us know issues they're seeing, and they'll go do some trail clearing on their own. But so the conservation volunteer program has been huge here.
Yeah, and if people are interested in being a trail steward in the Forbes, what do they need to do?
So to be a trail steward, well, first of all, if you're interested in just volunteering, there is a link on our website for the conservation volunteer program. And if you tag the Forbes State Forest, we'll notify you when we do the organized events. If you want to be a trail steward, we have just kind of a little training. We do it virtually, where we go over kind of some expectations, and then, it's not your life away, but you adopt, say, Wolf Rocks Trail, and you're interested, you're interested in keeping track of Wolf Rocks Trail. So what you'll do on your own is you would do a trail assessment once or twice a year, and we just ask that you submit that. And I have had a recreation forester for the last 2 years now, so that's awesome. So when that information comes in, like a certain section, maybe you're seeing trees down, or it needs brushed back, or it needs reblazed, or there's something wrong with the trail tread. We actually take that information and put it into a database we have. And then we accomplish that work through volunteer days, through like we have a youth conservation corps that's on now, or through our own staff. So, but we take that information and we use that as the basis of work plans.
That's excellent. So we will link your website to the show notes, as well as some of the other things that you mentioned to give people easy access to the items that you're talking about. One of the things that popped into my head as we were talking about the different ways that people utilize the Forbes is the number of images that we get in our annual photo contest that were taken in the Forbes.
Yeah. We're so close to population centers here in Pittsburgh, bigger population centers, but also just in this greater area. And so many people come to Laurel Highlands just because of, you have the state forest, and you have all the state parks in this area too. So you can spend a lot of time here, and it is a beautiful area. It really is. I might be a little biased. I know other parts of the state are beautiful too, but there are so many beautiful picturesque areas down here. So
vistas, treescapes, rock outcroppings. I mean, I'm just
waterfalls,
mushrooms. I mean, we get the whole gamut, so it is a very picturesque landscape. Are there any places in the Forbes that you, as a visitor, when you're not working, that you visit time and time again? Do you have a favorite spot?
And I do. I am a user of the State Forest. I'm a hiker. I'm a mountain biker. I'll just say, well, not me personally, because I used to get on all our trails almost every year, almost every single trail. I'm getting older, so I don't get on all of them, but I still get out a lot. But most people, one of our most popular hikes is out to Wolf Rocks. You have Spruce Flats Bog that is real close to where you park, and Wolf Rocks it's not like you're going to see 20 miles, but you see the whole inland valley when you're out in Wolf Rocks, and you're pretty much alone by yourself out there.
You had mentioned the bog, which is one of your very unique landscapes. Do you have any other very unique landscapes in the district?
Not quite like the bog, but a lot of rock outcrops. We have white rocks in Fayette County, which I was told it's either the largest outcrop in western Pennsylvania in the western half. Charles Beer told me that. So, anyways, it's a large rock outcrop. We've been working with the Southwest PA Climbers Coalition to maybe put some hardware on routes that are chosen. We have other like Beam Rocks is an area that's it's probably one of our most popular areas. That's on the border of Westmoreland and Somerset County. We have another bog known as Christner Bog down near Mount Davis. And just the fact that we have three major blocks of forest that are each about an hour to an hour and a half from each other. So when you go down to Fayette County, you'll see a whole different kind of forest, and you're on the ridge down there. You go over to Somerset County, you're kind of on a Mount Davis, totally different tree species, totally different look. Then you come up to Laurel Mountain here, and you get actually an entire different look. And they're all beautiful, but they're all unique from each other. But yeah, we have quite a few historic and natural points of interest throughout the forest.
Yeah, and even I'm thinking your office. I mean, your office is it easily to get to, easy to get to, and you have a trail there that goes through a meadow.
We do, correct? And well, it does more than that. It goes through around a pollinator block that we have, and then it goes into the forest. So it's over a mile. But I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing there. We have 2 footbridges that we're rebuilding to make them wider, and our pollinator loop is done with trail surface aggregate. So we're hoping to do something in the forest also, because we're hoping to get one of the track mobility chairs that PPFF had offered. I think it was last year. But so we're making some improvements because we're situated near a lot of people here. And I really feel like that would get a lot of use. So we talk to our recreation section about that, and this year and next year. By next year, we should be finishing. We got to widen some of the trails; they're just not quite wide enough. But this would make an excellent loop to go by. And actually, we put a couple beehives in right off the pollinator loop. One of our rec forester, Travis, he's a beekeeper. So he's like, can I put a beehive in? We're like, absolutely. So we had an Eagle Scout build an enclosure, whatever. And we have the bees down there. We have some interpretive panels. So someone could come here and learn, and just, we're hoping the track mobility chair would get a lot of use. But we're doing.
Yeah, well, if you tell me when you're ready, I have a Quantum Outback waiting for you.
Because I think we're going to be into that. And we also, well, this isn't just these trails, but someone from our rec section came out this year, and we have a couple other areas like out of Bachman Rocks in down near Mount Davis, Fish Run here in the Laurel Mountain Division. We want to, in the trails that we talked about, they are going to try to fund like a feasibility study for us that tells us exactly what we need to do to make that accessible, those areas. Because I guess it's not as easy as just, leveling the surface of something. We do have other areas like the bog. So over probably a decade ago now, the local state park there, we worked with them, and they made a parking spot accessible by people in wheelchairs. And then the whole trail back to the bog, we put trail surface aggregate down, and our engineers made sure it met all the specs as far as the grade changes. And then we put in a new observation platform out there. And I understand the ramp, it might be a little beyond spec, but they said it's still okay. And so people can go see Spruce Flats Bog in a wheelchair if they have that.
Excellent. And it is worth the trip for anybody to go see it, because it is a very unique ecosystem.
And we're trying to tie in some other areas too, like that. So maybe folks could do a tour of the Forbes and hit some of these areas, and they're accessible.
Do your maps indicate where there are accessibility options, or is that something that you're working on? How can somebody that utilizes accessible trails, how would they know where to find those?
Well, our bureau is right now, so they asked us for a list of accessible areas to go on our GIS system, basically, and then areas that we are planning to work on. So to answer your question, they're not on our map right now, but when we get some of what I was talking about up and running, they will be. What is already like on maps is the Power Mobility Device program. So I'm sure a lot of folks know about that, and they're in that. So those are trails that we have that are open to various mobility devices, and you you can go to any state park or forest and get a permit, and that permit's good for any state forest or park. You need to call the individual, like Forbes State Forest, and we will give you a map of all our trails. A lot of times they might have a lock that's easily accessible on them, but in the various trails throughout DCNR are open to different types of mobility devices, but they would let you know that. So
okay, great.
So that's of course has been established for quite some time. But these other things I'm talking about some are there, but no, I don't have them on a map yet. But once we get some of this other work done, I mentioned that they will be.
Okay, so they can just keep their eye on the Bureau's website, and I'm sure that'll be. And I know that DCNR overall has now implemented a searchable map for accessibility upgrades that they've done, or universal design, so that universal design improves the outdoor experience for everybody.
Correct.
Is there any place within the Forbes that you think every Pennsylvania or every visitor, because you might not be from Pennsylvania, where that everybody should experience or see?
Yeah, I'll mention two. I never follow the rules, but Spruce Flats Bog and Wolf Rocks are so close to each other. Not close. You park in the same parking lot. So Wolf Rocks, that picture is probably on every brochure we've had in our public use map. It's just like an iconic place in the Forbes. So now it's a little bit longer of a walk. It's probably about a 4-mile round trip. The bog is an easy couple hundred yards from a parking lot. So I would say Wolf Rocks. Nearby, if that's too far for you, is Beam Rocks, and it's only about a 10-minute walk out to Beam Rocks, and they're all within a couple miles of parking next to each other. So I know that was three, but if if there was one, I would say Wolf Rocks.
Wolf Rocks it is. Is there, as we're starting to come to a close, is there anything that you would want listeners to know about visiting the Forbes State Forest, or being a good steward when they're there?
One thing we didn't mention is motorized or roadside camping. So all of the Forbes, most of it, except for a few areas, is open to primitive camping, and that's backpacking. And we just ask that you be out of sight of a trail in a parking lot. But we do have motorized sites that are on Reserve America, which a lot of other forest districts do also. It's the same program or the same site you would go to rent a campsite at a state park. All the state forests are on there. People love them. Ours are booked constantly. We only have 6. I'm hoping to put one more in each of our those 3 main areas that I was talking about, because they are booked almost constantly.
I would imagine.
With Reserve America, it's been awesome. It's taken the onus off our staff to keep track of all this. So, and people have been very respectful. So if you like to get away, because what you're going to find there is a fire ring and a picnic table, but you're out in the dark, as dark as it gets around here, put it that way. Dark areas at night. It's wonderful. People love them. Yeah, I mentioned that.
Marvelous. And is there anything else? Just thinking about somebody visiting them, they can stop at your office. You have literature there they can pick up. They can download information off of the website.
Exactly. The website, we have those maps I was talking about. We have our camping guidelines, other information. One way we do get a lot of information out is through our Facebook page. So if you're really interested in hearing the current happenings in Forbes, just check out our Facebook page. That's probably the best way we communicate with people. We can get messages out easy. And just last fall, our environmental education specialist, on a whim, took a really short video of our forest technician. He was floating acorns. And And she's like, John, what are you doing there? And he explained how the ones that float generally are bad. So we get rid of them and we take the other ones and terminate them. Well, she put this short video on Facebook and it got over 1 million hits. And
Oh my goodness.
so she followed it up with the way that we collect acorns. So it's called a bag of nut, this thing. So you just
is that it looks like a sweeper?
That's exactly it. So and it didn't get quite 1 million, but it got a lot of hits. So people are interested, I think, in what we do, and even just our day-to-day goings on. Like, why are we doing this? Why do we mark trees this way? So, but check out our Facebook page and maybe subscribe to it so you can find that out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I also think you had mentioned earlier about the storms that you get. Like if you're planning a visit, keep your eye on the Facebook page, because like I'm living here in central Pennsylvania, and I know the Laurel Hill got hammered. I imagine the Forbes did too a few weeks ago with a really bad storm. So you wouldn't know that. So keeping an eye on the Facebook page would also let you know if there's any weather incidences or closures.
Road close is a big one. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to get that information to the public, along with I don't know how many people actually look at our webpage, but there is a section on there where you can list things like that.
Yeah, the alerts section.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, excellent, Ed. It was wonderful to have a conversation with you. I wish I were there because Forbes is a great destination, and I do enjoy visiting your forest, and I do look forward to seeing the interpretive panels and all the work that you've done up at Mount Davis.
They'll be done soon. Well, I appreciate doing this, and I hope people come out and visit our forest. It really is beautiful here. And I just give a shout out to our staff who take care of it, because we actually don't have we have a lot of vacancies. It's been really hard to hire, especially maintenance staff. The staff we have are fantastic, really care, really do a great job. If you do come out and you see one of them, it goes a long way. If you'd make their day if you told them, thank you for whatever you do.
Thank you for that. And yeah, we do appreciate all that you do as a forest district and all of your staff.
And I will just say thank you to PPFF. And I'm not just saying that and you've been around the whole time, Marci, that I've been here, but you guys have been fantastic. You're a great resource for forest districts, and I'm sure state parks and all that also. But you've done a lot to help us manage our state forests, because we can't do it all on our budgets. So
happy to help.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for listening to Think Outside, where every episode invites you to discover new places, build confidence, and find inspiration in nature. Love the show? Subscribe for more inspiration, share with a fellow explorer, and let's keep thinking outside together. For more resources and inspiration, visit thinkoutsidepodcast.org.